Welcome, and thank you for joining us on another episode of today's Electrical Estimating. I'm your co-host, Chris Trummer, and as always, I'm joined by my other co-host, Sal Huerta.
Hello, everyone.
So, Sal, we got Barney back in the studio with us, and I really like what he's talking about today because I always sort of live by that motto of work smarter, not harder. I think it's a good one to go by. And I'm always looking at areas of where I can make things more efficient and run more smoothly. So I think it's a really great conversation. He brings up a lot of points. I mean, this might be our longest podcast episode so far with him on this interview. I mean, I got some takeaways. What about yourself?
No, I agree. You know, one of the things when it comes to especially estimating, people think it's kind of like the Wild West. It's just all over the place. But the reality is there are checklists and there are things you need to do to minimize the time just being wasted. And so if you can check off A, B, C, and D, that just makes the whole process that much simpler.
Yeah, and it's great talking with Barney because, I mean, a lot of the things he talks about is a checklist that he's created over the last, 20, 30 years that he's been in business. It seems like he's doing pretty well for himself. So, I mean, this is even before you start opening up the bid invitations, even before you turn your computer on. It's just a list that he has created over all these years, knowing exactly what he'll be looking for when he turns that on, and just take away a lot of that time and research into going into every other bid, trying to decide if it's for him or not.
You know, we've had other guests come on as well talking about how their staff or their workload is geared towards one job or another. You know, one could be more hospital versus, one does, hotels. So knowing all this stuff beforehand gives you the ability of picking the jobs that fit closer to what you guys are really good at. And I think that's one of the things he'll bring up as well.
And I feel like estimators tuning in, they might already have their own checklist or might have created their own system, but I think Barney covers this really well and in depth. So I think even if you have your own, it might be good to just give it a listen. Maybe there's one or two things that they can pick up, or especially if you're new to the game and you're looking for some insights, I think this will be really helpful for them.
It's always good to get another point of view from someone who's very successful. So that's always a good thing.
For sure. Well, let's not waste any more time and jump on into it. As always, great speaking with you, Sal. We'll catch up next time. About something offline before, and I thought it was quite interesting, and it was sort of the process of what you look at before you even turn that computer on or talk to your estimators. When you're looking through all the projects that are out there that you could even start bidding on, you take some steps prior to that. You know, you're not going out there and just bidding on every single job. You're looking at specific types of jobs. You know, that's like step zero. It seemed like it wasn't even like it was step one. It was like step zero, do these XYZs before you even think about it.
Yeah, all of my competitors are lean a little bit more towards this kind of a job, that kind of a job, and so do I. I find a type of a job. My guys in the field I know have a lot of experience doing that. Mm-hmm. And so I just look at all the jobs. I might bring up bid invitations and open it up and look at it on my computer and yes, no, maybe. And then, of course, how far is that from our city?
So when you're looking at it, so you're basically right now, you and your team are specialized for particular builds. So that's what you're looking at first and foremost is sort of like, okay, does this meet our specification, our skill set of what we know we can do inside and out? So that would sort of be what you're looking at first on that one.
Yeah. And another reason you want to do that is because the only reason anyone's in this business is profit. And so if your team are real good at one thing, one type of job, I'm going to look at those type of jobs a lot because I know my guys could get it done faster than my competition's guy, which we may be close in price at the end, but it's really how you finish the job. How many hours did you really use? Mm-hmm. And how much did you bid it for? And then how much did you use? And then that trickles down to the only reason we do it, which is to make profit.
Now, do you ever look at other jobs that are maybe outside your team's, I don't want to say skill set, but what your speciality? Are you ever
Yes,
looking at those?
speciality is
There's
a good thing.
particular.
Yeah, you have to know. Like I use Microsoft Project, so I get all the jobs I'm doing. And this month, I've got two guys at this job. So you have labor, and then you also have a spot where 3-4 months from now, I know I'm going to be done with this group of jobs, and I'm going to be hungry to fill that. So that's another
Mhm.
big thing to look at when you're the owner or the senior estimator or the guy deciding what to bid on. You don't want gaps in your work. Gaps will that's a killer. You start losing your men because if they're not working, my competition will hire him. It's real important to know when you need jobs, and also when do you have too many jobs. Like 3-4 months right now, I'm going to be completely full. I might limit any bids that is due to be under construction at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say that's the first thing you look at before you even open up any invitations is your schedule to know like, hey,
um
we need something 3 months down the line, or we're good, so you could see what's coming up, and hey, this is going to already be full, so we're not even going to open this up and take a look at it.
well, I've got enough time to at least look at the jobs. I'm not going to waste any time if I know I can't do the job, of course, because I've got too much work at that particular time. And then I could look at bigger jobs that are going to be down the road from that, like bigger jobs, like ground
Mhm.
up jobs. You could bid the job even though it's starting when you're real busy, but it takes a couple of months before they build the building, do the underground, and all that before I really got to throw men on the job. It's a lot to think about,
Okay.
a lot of responsibility. If you're the guy that is choosing what job to bid, there's a lot to think about.
Hmm. You looked at your schedule, you looked at the type of job, if it's within your speciality of sorts.
Yeah.
um, I think we talked something before about too is the type, if it's going to be something, I think you mentioned a design build, or if it's going to be something that, and I forgot the name for the other one that you mentioned.
Yeah, we were talking about if you're going to do a design build, it's going to take you a long time to bid it because you have to design it in on paper or on your computer, and then you can finally take it off. So have nothing better to do with your time is the way I look at it. Then I'll do a design build mainly if it's really good customer and he's counting on me
Okay.
for a design build on something. And the other thing is, I like to bid jobs that are engineered, electrically engineered, like real electrical sheets, because that way you bid the job exactly what it is and you're not guessing what to add into it. At construction, they want you to do this and it's not on the plans. We can do it, but it's going to cost you this much. It's a safer way for me to go, especially if I'm doing a lot of work. Now, if you're a smaller company, you only doing one or two, and you like to design and build and feel confident when you design it too. You're taking a lot of risk because it's a design build. If it doesn't work, sure, in the contract's going to be somewhere about it has to work when you're.
And it all stops on you because you designed it.
Yeah, that's not as much of my cup of tea. And then sometimes I'll
Yeah.
skip on jobs that don't have real detailed electrical because that's somewhat of a design build too, even if they show you where I want some outlets.
Sort of like a partial design build at that point.
Yeah, yeah. I'd only do those if I was slow and I needed to fill a spot and it's coming up in a month and I know I need to work anyway. But nothing real big is too much risk.
So we talked about schedule and type and design build versus electrical. Do you also look at who you're going to be working with on the job? Who that GC is going to be? Is that a factor that plays into your decision to say, yeah, we're moving forward with this, or hell no, I'm not moving forward with this at all. I'm running away
It's a
direct.
large factor because the companies that are my favorite companies, my main general contractors, I've worked with them a lot, and I know them. I know their pay when they pay, how they deal with if I have a legitimate change order, if they're going to give me a lot of grief about it. So there's a lot. I normally pick the jobs with the general contractors that I like working with. If there are if this one or two general contractors, if I like them and they really like me, and I get the lion's share of their jobs, a lot of times if I'm not the lowest dollar, they may pick me anyway because they know that I can do the job, keep it on time, budget. They feel safer doing it with a company that they work with all the time, like myself. And it's not always the bottom dollar. It's it's trust between
It's
you
that
guys.
mutual trust and assurance at the end of the day that you know you're going to get what you need from them and they can rely on you getting the job done the way you said you're going to get it done, and they don't have to look over their shoulder and hope for the
Yeah.
best.
Yep.
Now, where did that is that relationship something that, like all relationships, is just built over time that you have to prove yourself to each other to say, hey, over the last couple of years, I can trust Greg, the GC, and he's stuck to what he's supposed to be doing. I haven't gotten any issues with him, and he can feel the same way about you. Is that pretty much what that's going to be? Just
Yeah.
time?
And also some new contractors that I like. I built a job with them and it went great. And they invited me to another one. So I'll bid to them again. And then that's where the trust starts. So it doesn't have to be just your number one or two general contractors. The new guys, you're new to them, they're new to you. The job worked out good. Everybody made money. Let's do it again. And then they, over time, may become one of your main contractors.
Now, is there ever a point I have to ask, the other side of the coin here? Is there ever a time where you've worked with somebody for a while, relationship is good, and then something happens and it goes sideways and you're like, yeah, you're on the opposite side now. You're on the list.
That happens. Not normally with my main favorite guys, but with general contractors, maybe from out of state that I only do once or twice a year. And if I get burned, they're on my no bid list.
Okay.
So in the end, they're hurting themselves by not treating you right, because in the end, they don't get your bids anymore. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. Everybody needs that anyway.
That partnership of sorts where you both know what you're going into at that point.
Yeah.
So with these guys, and you mentioned it, with the ones you have these great relationships, you might be coming into a job and be, like you said, a couple hundred over or so and get a call back of, hey, you're a little high on this, and then be able to sort of move forwards, even if you are a little high, because you have that relationship with them. I guess what I'm getting at, that plays, it seems to me, would play a big part because hey, if John's the GC here, I feel comfortable that working with him is going to be great. But also, if I come over just a little bit too much, my experience with him is going to sort of help carry me through, or he's going to give me a heads up of, hey, you're coming in a little high on this one.
Yeah, I've had GCs that I work a lot with say, you're a little bit high, but we're going to use you. Or they might call me and say, you're a little bit high. Can you re-look at your number? Then that gives me time to, did I forget something? Did I put something in that shouldn't be in there? Again, that's why your relationship with your contractors, your general contractors, is so important.
So would you say, so there's pretty much four things I think we just talked about that you are considering and thinking about as you look through these bid invitations before you're even moving forward. I mean, is there anything else that you would say you would put on your mental checklist, that you think about as you're looking through these bid invitations that helps you filter through them quicker to get to the ones that these are the projects we're going to go after?
Yeah, if it's something that's not really in my specialty, a lot to do with what you pass on too, not only what you take. If you're not going to make profit because you don't know much about that type of a job, then pass on it. Let your competitors fight over it. They can keep busy over there while you're bidding jobs that in your wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So what you pick and what you don't take is both important.
Just to recap, when you're going and you're opening this up, I mean, you've done this long enough that this is probably all in your head at this point, but you're sort of looking at your schedule, your location, the type of project, if it's a design build or electrical engineered, and then who the GC is, and all that sort of in your head as you're scrolling down through these invitations. And you can easily sort of say yes or no moving forwards on those, and then it leaves you with the ones that meet sort of this criteria that you have for yourself, and then you can go, hey guys, these are the ones we're going to start working on, and then that's when you sort of move forwards from there.
All those things that you just mentioned is very important. If I'm a new estimator, make a list of all of those things. And then when you're looking at a job, then you could check off, does this fit A, B, C, D? And then that's going to help you decide, do I want to bid this job or not? So make a list.
Sort of gives you a frame
Until it is planted in your brain. That way,
write it down, tape it to your computer, make sure that it's there. Because like you said, it's as important on the ones you decide to go forwards and you get than the ones that you pass on. So without this list, if you're skipping number 3 and then you're going after something you shouldn't be doing, the next thing you know, you might have just wasted hours, if not longer, a day or so, building something out that you're not going to end up moving forwards with, or God forbid you actually do move forwards with, get it, and then it's just downhill from there.
Yeah, if it's not checking off enough boxes on your list, that's going to, if you do get it, it's going to have a lot to do with the end result, which is how much profit did I make on this job? What percentage profit did I make?
Which is really, in the end, the big dollar sign that you're looking at through all of this is how much profit am I going to make?
That's the only reason anybody does that.
True.
If you're a new estimator, you have to understand that. You're not bidding a job just to keep busy. You're bidding a job and taking a risk, and check off those boxes so that your risk level is lower on the jobs that you pick and profitable on the jobs that you pick.
And that's just from the start point. You're basically saying, hey, if I can check 4 of these 5 boxes, I'm starting out in a good position, because at least 4 out of 5 are checked, 3 out of 5. Then I can get into it a little bit more and build it out and see where I'm going to land with profit and know even further. But you're saving yourself. I mean, what does it take you if you have to throw it into McCormick software and all that to find out what your profit's going to be? What, a day or so with 2 guys or a guy? I mean, if not longer.
In my software, McCormick, once the job's all bid out, it goes to a thing called bid summary. And that's where you know exactly all of your profit levels.
Your numbers.
So
how long does it take?
You know that before you turn the bid in. And another thing, you don't want to bid a job with such a tight timeline that you don't have time to finish the job, put it away for a little bit, and then go back there with a clear head, look at the prints again, double check yourself, then turn the bid in.
Yeah, because then you're not giving yourself enough time to really give it that once over the second time. And like you said, we were talking about before, when we were talking about pricing, you might miss something. You got thousands and thousands of not just products, but other things going on within this software that one thing can miss and throw everything off. And it's just, we're humans, right? Sometimes
then you make losses. It's estimating is a risk game. It's like I tell my friends, well, I compare it to like Vegas. I said, Vegas, that's for pussies. Try estimating $1 million job. It's not a solid thing you're doing. It's estimating. You're guessing.
Yeah.
And you're putting your money where your mouth is. And you either get that card you're looking for or you don't. So it's a risk game. I'd only be a senior estimator if you're qualified and ready to make those guesses.
In those decisions, because it's going to end up landing on you at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, just to recap, it seems like you said, it's a gamble, it's a risk. And to make sure that you negate some of this risk, at least, is just put things into place that'll help decrease the risk throughout your process. So, when you're looking at your bid invitations, what's your schedule, the type of project it is. Is it design, build, electrical engineer, the GC, the location, have that out there. And if it's only checking 2 of your boxes, run the other way possibly and see what's next, and then
it may be worth 5 minutes of your time to run through it as you're glancing at it. That's better than putting 5 hours into it and then deciding, this is a waste of time.
Yeah, you
Check
drop
those
half a
boxes.
day trying to what your profit's going to be. So negate your risk from the get go, and you probably will set yourself up to have less risk as you're going through the rest of the process of sorts.
Yeah. Eventually, like for me, I've been doing it so long. Everything that we just talked about, that's in my head, and I go through it. And I don't need that checklist. But if you're starting, make that checklist so that you're choosing your jobs smartly, wisely.